Welcome to my last video of 2020. I'm actually so excited to be making this video because it feels like I can finally just put 2020 behind me and just move on with the new year and move on with my life, which I'm feeling very excited and quite optimistic for. And I thought in today's video I would do a little bit of like a 2020 wrap up and then also share with you what's behind the optimism and excitement for next year, you know, the new ideas and plans and thoughts and feelings and goals, and we can just sort of all talk about these things to help us feel a little bit more motivated and inspired going into the new year. So yeah, 2020. I think we're all pretty excited that it's ending. It has been an insane year. It's been a pretty awful year. I think collectively we've all experienced to some degree the same level of awfulness, if that is even a word. But then I think we've also experienced things individually as well, and it's been a lot, and I think some of you are still feeling the effects of 2020, especially to all of you out there who are still currently in a lockdown. I really feel for you because I did experience it myself this year. This year, for me personally, it started with, you know, the fires in Australia, and that basically the entire east coast of Australia was wiped out with the bushfires, and we lost our family home on New Year's Eve last year, and that was a lot to digest in the beginning of the year, especially because I wasn't here and I didn't actually get to experience the full effects and how almost, I want to say, traumatizing it would have been to be in this area, and to anyone who experienced evacuations and all that sort of stuff. Like, I can only imagine how intense and scary that would have been, and it's a pretty awful way to start off 2020. And for anyone else out there who has experienced a natural disaster, I'm sure you can relate in how this thing that is just completely out of your control can completely change your life. So that was just yeah, a lot to take on. And I was in Canada at the time, and then I came back from Canada to Australia in March to go to a wedding and actually pack up the rest of my stuff, empty my storage locker, and move back over to Canada permanently. And then COVID hit. I think that is something that we can all very much understand exactly what I'm saying right now. In March, it was just like this, it's almost a bit of a blur. I don't know if anyone else feels like this, but it's just a bit of a blur. And it's actually kind of hard to remember what March was like. I came back to my mum's. It was always in my plan, but I kind of just ended up getting stuck here, and it was beautiful. Like, it was the most incredible time. We lived by the beach and the weather was fabulous and it was amazing, but it was also a very anxiety-inducing time. And so I don't think I really got to enjoy the time that I had here because there was so much unknown. We had no idea when this was ending. We still have no idea when this is ending. And it was a lot to adjust to because our lives all drastically changed. All of our plans, our hopes and our dreams, if you will, were crushed in that like short amount of time. And it was a heavy and very big adjustment. And I was here for 3 months and it was beautiful, but it was very hard. And then I thought, you know, Melbourne is starting to open up a little bit. All my stuff is in storage down there. Why don't I just get a 6-month lease and we'll see what happens? And so I did that. I went to Melbourne, I emptied my storage locker, I set myself up in a little apartment there, and it lasted for about 3 weeks before the entire of Melbourne was forced into an excruciating and exhausting 4-month lockdown where we were not allowed outside for more than an hour a day, and in that 1 hour all you could do was like get groceries or exercise. You couldn't even just sit down, and by the end of the first 6 weeks all I wanted to do was sit in the park. And the day that the announcements came that we could just take that hour to sit in the sun, it was literally the greatest day of my life. And to say that out loud and to think that that is something that was just an incredible thing to happen is very strange. Who would have thought in a million years that the best day of my life was because I was allowed to sit out inside in the sun for an hour? Like, that's, you know, if you had said this at the end of 2019, everyone would have thought you were absolutely crazy. I'm sure some of you who are currently in lockdown can understand those thoughts and those feelings, but it was mentally a really straining time for basically every Victorian, every Melburnian. I think everyone suffered in their own way. In fact, almost everybody I knew by the end of those first 6 weeks was starting to crack. People were losing their minds. There was just like this stress. People were stressed, they were anxious. A lot of people I know went into therapy. I myself did. It was honestly the best thing. And I think what's really interesting is a lot of people in those few months did sort of take the time to work on themselves and work on adjusting and accepting and moving through all of the emotions and the feelings that were being brought up by that particular situation, so that by time, you know, the end of spring started to roll around and we were going back to normal life, everybody had transformed into an entirely new person, and it was really quite beautiful to see, actually. And I really liked my first sort of few outings once we were allowed to go back out, because I felt like people were friendlier, people were much more social. I think it's much easier to have conversations with people, plus, you know, because we've all gone through this together, which means we all have something in common, we all have something that we can bond over and relate to, and I think it's really changed the way that people interact, and I think it's for the better. I think people are, as I said, a lot friendlier and more open to having conversations. I've had a lot more conversations with strangers, and I feel a little more chatty and open to people when I go out now, and I think that that's amazing. So that was, I guess, I think being here in Australia was very greatly timed with spring, and that I felt like we were all just sort of blooming as we came out into this sort of almost free world again here in Australia. And then, you know, 2020, just as the New South Wales and Victorian border opened, my nan went into hospital. We didn't think she was going to make it, so all of my brothers came up, and as awful as it was to have to, you know, say our final goodbyes to my nan, which thankfully was not the final goodbye. It may be for my brothers, as they could not come back for Christmas, but for myself, it wasn't the final goodbye. She's actually here in the house with us. She's finally back from the nursing home and the hospital, and she was able to spend Christmas with us, which is amazing, but she is quite elderly and we don't know how much longer there is. And so it was just really nice to have almost an early Christmas, because as I said, my brothers couldn't come home for Christmas. We had a sort of early family thing at the end of November, and it was just amazing. So even though it was something so awful, it was this amazing thing to come out of it. And I think if we're going to take anything away from 2020, I feel like there's a new sense of gratitude towards very simple things that maybe once we did not have, and I really, really like that. So that was really, really nice. And then going into December, our house was finally built. I'm in the new house. I'm in what's gonna be my bedroom. I call it my bedroom, but it's really just a spare bedroom. But you know, I'm in here, I'm setting it up, I'm designing it and styling it. It's my bedroom. But yeah, we moved into the new house about a week and a half ago, just before Christmas, and it's been amazing to try and settle in and make this house feel like a home. And as I said, it's really nice to be making this video and going out of 2020 in a much more happier and positive way than I, one, went into 2020, and two, mid-2020 was just awful. So it's quite nice to wrap up this year feeling like a different person and seeing everyone around me transform into different people as well. Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is an online platform where you can create websites, blogs, and e-commerce stores, and it is the platform that I have used to create my website. I originally started with a blog, but I now have an e-commerce store. You could create a portfolio to display some of your work, or maybe you're a small business and you need a website. If you're someone who is looking at setting up an online store like I recently have, then you will love Squarespace's e-commerce capabilities, and they also now have new third-party tools that you can connect to help you manage things like your inventory, promoting products, shipping, and bookkeeping as well. So it's much easier to keep track of everything all in the one place. If you are interested in starting a website, then head to squarespace.com and start a free trial, and when you are ready to launch, you can click the link in the description or use my code to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So with that little wrap up and recap of 2020, some of the stuff that I covered is actually sort of what's behind a lot of the optimism that I'm feeling in myself and from the people around me as well. And that is that I think this year was quite transformative for a lot of people. It did change the way that we look at life and the way that we handle things. And I think we're excited for 2021 because we already know how to deal with a pandemic. And that's not to say that there's not something that worse that could happen, because that's an entire possibility. Things could get really bad in 2021, but I think we're a little more well equipped to deal with these kinds of things. We've already experienced it. We've already learnt how to go through such a difficult time. So I think even though chances are 2021 is not going to be that much better than 2020, I'm really excited for it, because I'm excited to see how I can take everything that I've learnt this year. I don't know how to explain it. The best way I can think of it right now is like I've built up like a little armor and a little shield and all of these tools, and I just want to see whatever 2021 is going to throw at me, how I'm going to be able to handle it. And that's where I think a lot of the excitement's coming from. And how to just make the most out of tough situations, because like I said, we've all experienced this now. We all sort of know how to deal with it, know what to kind of expect, and I think we have all these new tools and skills that we previously didn't have. So that's what I'm seeing in a lot of people, this optimism and excitement to just take on whatever is thrown at them in 2021, which excites me, not just for myself, but for me seeing it in everybody else as well. So I think that's probably like the biggest and most important lesson of 2020, is to see that shift between the way that we think about things and the way that we approach life. And I think that that is awesome. Like, it's just the best part to come out of 2020. But I am very excited for January, which starts in a few days, and I didn't bring any of my planners or any of that stuff back here with me, because I just thought, oh, I'm not going back to Melbourne until the new year, I won't need it. Yeah, that was a mistake, because I have been sitting here for the last week on all I've wanted to do is just start planning and writing in my new like notebooks and things like that. I have my planners here with me, so I have my little A5 one here at the moment. It's a little desk planner with my daily design. I do have digital versions of this as well. I'll have it all linked in the description. I also have A4 version as well, but it's just, yeah, tear off pages and it plans out my day, and I love it. But I am really missing my notebook at the moment, so I can start getting some more ideas down, because I've been using this notepad like crazy and actually turning it into all kinds of different note-taking systems rather than just what it's actually meant for, because I need my notebook. But I'm very excited to start planning. I did do a planning essentials video. I'll have that listed in the description. That's where you can go and see all of my planners and my notebooks and my pens and my pencils and all that fabulous stationery. So definitely check that out. When I get back to Melbourne, 100% going to be doing a plan with me video, like how I'm going to be planning, you know, 2021, the planners, the notebooks, all the different tools that I will have to help keep myself feeling a little bit more organized. It makes me feel motivated. And if you're a stationery lover and a planner lover, then you just know how satisfying it is to have literally a fresh page. When you have, ooh, I actually have so many pages here. Wow, okay, I've just pulled like 5 pages of notes out of my little booklet. But when you have a fresh page, it is so incredibly satisfying. So there's something also very satisfying about a new year and that chance to start fresh and, I don't know, new year, new me. You know the vibes I'm talking about. We do it on my channel every year. You get it. So super excited for all that planning stuff. I will, like I said, have that video in the description so you can get an idea of the tools that I will be using for planning. I'm gonna have to do a whole video on it. It's coming very soon. Stay tuned for that. I did also want to talk a little bit about some of the new goals and thoughts that I have for the new year. So like I said, I don't think 2021 is necessarily going to be any better than 2020, but I think we are just more well equipped to deal with it. And I think when you think about it in that manner, then it makes it easier to plan and be a little bit more optimistic. So when it comes to planning, obviously we don't make any really big goals or things that are probably going to not be attainable. And we are also going to be a little bit more adaptive and understand that things can change, and we're gonna like go with it. We're gonna flow with it, and we're gonna accept that things are probably not gonna work out in the exact, you know, vision that we have. But like I said, we've got the tools, we can do this. I think for me, I haven't really planned anything more than January. January, we're gonna just take it 1 month at a time, maybe a week or 2 at a time. I think that's the best way to plan for the new year. I don't think it's really worth planning too far in advance. That's what 2020 has taught us. I am working with a lot of monthly calendars, and I'm really wanting to visualize my month in open spreads. So I'm actually working with 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 different monthly calendars for different areas of my life, and just so that I keep on track of everything, and it gives me the ability that if things do change, I can just move things around a lot easier when I have like a big clear vision of the month ahead. So that's my new way of planning things for January. What do I have going on in January? Basically, I'm just gonna kind of get into the groove of making videos. I have been very slack this year because it's been a very mentally difficult year. It's been hard to try and stay on top of everything. So that is one of my massive goals for 2021 is, you know, let's get organized with my videos. Let's get a schedule so you guys know when to meet here. It's like, let's reconvene, guys, on whatever day, and let's chat and do organizational planning, cleaning, all that kind of stuff. So that's one of my goals, to be a little bit more organized with that. I obviously have the inventory with my planners and my digital products like the app icons and things like that. I am also working on other stationery items. I have been wanting to make a stationery brand for years. It's been about 5 years in the making, and this year I finally got to doing it. But I do have my own way of doing things, and I wanted to ease into it. I didn't want to do this big giant, oh my god, I have a stationery brand. I wanted to feel it out and understand how things work, because it's a lot. It's a big process, and I started with my little desk planners that I just showed you before, and I'm very excited about these, but I'm so excited to start getting more things out to you guys and more things for me to play with, because I mean, ultimately I'm making the things for myself, but then sharing them with you as well, because these are the things that I love, and I only want to be putting out products that I'm actually going to be using myself. I'm very excited. I'm working on a bunch of different things, but that's a lot of my January as well. I think in the next couple of months I might be moving out of Melbourne and back up here. That again is something that I'm just like, it's a plan in my mind, but I'm not putting dates to it because I don't know what's gonna happen. So that's kind of where my January is going. I just think I'm going to be doing a lot of like YouTube and the inventory focused work. I'm going to be a lot more on social media, being more consistent with producing work for you guys. That's my 2021 massive goal, to be honest. And then outside of that, I don't really know what else is a goal, because I haven't really thought about it, because I didn't bring any of my planners to start planning this stuff. So the day that I get back to Melbourne, I swear I'm going to sit down and start planning things. So yeah, I feel like this video is a little bit just of like a hangout chat. Yeah, let's talk about 2020, some of the new things going into the new year. Yeah, I don't really know what this video has turned out to be. It's a very long, I'm looking at it, chatty, let's just wrap up 2020 and talk about all the exciting things that are gonna happen in the new year. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the next couple of weeks too, that are about goals and planning and all that sort of really fun stuff as well. And like I said, please leave in the comments down below. Like, I want to hear about what your goals are, because I'm feeling a little bit like I have a vision and I just sort of shared it with you, but I'm also feeling a little bit lost at the same time, and I would love some inspiration from you guys. So like, can you please help me as well? So I hope you've enjoyed this sort of, you know, casual hangout chat video, whatever this has turned out to be. But I just wanted to kind of wrap up 2020 and get you all really excited for 2021. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. Up the top, you can check out my last video. Down the bottom, I will leave a link to another one of my videos. And I will see you in 2021 with some new planner, goal, organization videos. And I'm so excited. They're all planned out. I just have to film them, and I'm so excited. So I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will see you next year.